Hey everybody, it's Man Negro here. Merry Christmas to you guys. You're probably wondering why I'm perched behind the chest of drawers in the bedroom, and that's pretty easy. Even though it's Christmas Day, I'm taking the opportunity here to change some plug fascias over to some new ones with the USB on it. So I just thought I'd tell you how you can go about doing this yourself. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to find your consumer unit, your fuse board. You need to turn off the main supply for the floor you're working on. This is the first floor on the main supply. Consumer unit is labeled as first floor plugs, so I switched that off. Earlier on, I also switched the light off to replace the light switch. I've already done the light switch. It was easy. Put the light back on now. We can see what we're doing. So, okay, we're going to take a look at the plug socket on the wall now. Here's the current fitted plug socket on the wall. The fascia, there's nothing actually wrong with it. We're just changing the room a bit, painted green. This wall is going to be wallpaper. Don't worry about it. You'll see it in the future. So what you do now is this thing is isolated. Now, usually I use a plug tester, which I plug in and switch on, and some LEDs will come on. As the LEDs come on, it tells you that the plug's on. You can also use a lamp if it makes you feel better, just to make sure it's isolated. We'll plug this lamp in here, we switch it on and off, nothing happens. Trust me, it's isolated. I've switched the other ones off already, so now we're going to do this one. So what you want to do first is you unscrew these two plugs, these two screws here. Every plug socket in the UK has got two screws like this. If you can't see them, they're just under the flush plate. They'll be on there somewhere, you know. But you want to do them, and you want to make sure you keep these screws here. Normally when you buy a fascia like these ones, there's some new screws in there. They're a bit shorter than the ones I got in the wall, and because they're under a flush mount, you won't see them anyway, so it's fine. You can just go ahead and keep these to go back in. And be careful, make sure you never thread these things. They are bastards. And traditionally as well, you kind of alternate between the two, just easing it off, you know. But it's okay, don't worry about it. So let me just I'll just get these off. Okay, 1 second. So here we go. I've undone the screws. Now the fascia is nice and loose from the wall, and we can pull it out and we can take a look. So just give it a little bit of a yank, nothing too much. You just need to pull it out so you can see what you're working with here. So the wiring in this house is only about 3 years old, so we don't need to worry too much. It's all good. So your yellow and green here, that's your earth cable. Okay, that's the one that sends any excess electricity and whatnot back into the ground. Any surges and things, keep you safe. Brown in this instance is live, okay? Brown, not earth. Yellow, green, earth. Think like the sunlight and the green grass. Brown, live. Blue, neutral. And you might get, depending on the age of your wiring, different things, different setups. So a neutral might be black, live might be red. Earth could be green. You know, if you've got different combinations behind there, you want to check on the internet, see what addition of electricity cables you got on there. It's not the end of the world, but you need to know which one is which. Do not muddle them up. At the same time, don't like super panic. As long as you got yourself a 3 LED plug tester, which I'll show you later, it will identify issues for you if you've gone wrong. But you know, it's better to do this right the first time around and then not risk zapping yourself across the room, okay? If your electricity system is up to scratch, you'll have a couple of RCDs and a couple of surge protectors between you and imminent death. So, you know, don't panic too much, but also don't rest on your laurels, you know? You don't want to zap yourself. So just make sure, you know, you're fairly competent. I've been changing these things for like since I was 10 years old, and my grandfather had me out changing plug sockets everywhere. So this has got a metal pattress that's fitted in here to one of the wall joists. Sometimes you get a pattress that'll sit flush on the wall, and usually you can see there'll be some trunking coming down there with your cables in, but this is all flushed off, and this new plug will fit nice and flush into the wall. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to take these wires off and get this thing out the way and wire in the new Maloney, okay? So there we go. Now we got the old thing off, and we got a couple of cables. Don't be worried. Don't be thinking, hey, there's a lot of cables here. It's a very simple thing. All your mains cables, for your main sockets, they run on a ring. So you got this double thing because the whole thing is a ring. Okay, the electricity runs right round. It helps double the kind of current that can run through it, and it also, you know, it loops back to the consumer unit to give kind of ample return and safety and power and whatnot. That's not to say that every plug socket is. If you open a plug socket and there's only one set of cables in there, then that's a spur. You know, that's been extended off another one. It's essentially like an extension cable in the wall. You can do this, but you don't want to get too carried away and daisy chain too many cables and stuff. You know, the ring, it makes it much safer. Your lights also operate on a ring main as well. You know, but they don't call it a ring main because it's not mains technically. It's like mains lighting. You know, use a different cable and much lower currents and those kinds of things. But anyway, we get these things off now, and then we've got this fascia thing. Obviously you got to screw it to the wall. There ain't no screw sockets on the front, but that's okay because you can just there's a little corner piece missing, and you just pop it off. Okay, so 1 second. there you go, you just pop that thing off and whoa, suddenly it's looking a lot uglier, but that's okay because then you get this thing, you put it back on there and it all looks good. So let's just take a quick look at the back. Slightly different configuration to the other one, but the same thing essentially. You always have two earth inputs, and then in this case they're over there, and then you've got your L for live and your N for neutral. So you're going to put your brown, your blues, and your yellows and your greens, and you're going to pop them in there then, and that's going to be nice. So let's take a look at that. Now once you know the positioning on the back of the fascia of where things are going to go, you can kind of, you can move things around here a bit, make it a bit easier for you. So live is on the outside and neutral then is in the middle, and then your earths are on the far like this. So you can kind of move them around to where you need them to be. These are your tails, okay? And in this instance it's nice and easy because these tails are pretty new, they're pretty good, so I don't have to crimp or cut or anything like that. It's all existing cable and it's all nice and new. When you're putting your cable into the debris thing, you want to make sure all the copper's in there, and if there's a copper sticking out the back, it might not hurt just to trim a little bit off the edge there, just to make sure that it fits in nicely, and then you screw it in nice and tight. Okay, so just bear with me. There you go, just pop the live in, there you go, and I've tightened that in nicely with the screw there. And as you can see, the thing's practically color coded anyway, so it's not rocket science anymore. You want to push the cables in pretty much at the same time. Don't try and put one in and the other, keep them in equitable, and then you can kind of pinch. There's a little pinch you can do where you can hold the screwdriver and the cables with one hand if you really need to, but if you've got two hands, obviously it's much easier, and I would recommend that. You want to make sure it's in there nice and tight, but hand tight, okay? Don't be using drills and whatnot on there because you can really damage the fascia and the screw and the thread and all kinds of stuff. Just finger tight, and then give it a good old nice turn in there, make sure it's good, because obviously when you're pushing this back in and the cables start squishing against this back pattress, what you don't want to happen is you don't want the cables to pop out the back of here, because then if they're touching this pattress, it could be running a live through your earth system and all this kind of stuff. Is not very good. Plus the plug won't work and your phone won't charge, so that's pretty bad too. So I'm just going to put the live and the earth terminals in here. As you can see, there's three terminals. There's one that goes to the back of the pattress and the other one which joins it all back in onto the loop, and then we'll get this sucker back on the wall. Now the lives and the neutrals are in, and I've given them an extra little tighten on this screwdriver here. Now just wanted to show you, of course you've got these here, these two are coming from the ring, but there's also this one here off the pattress, and what you'll notice is the cable at the end is blue, and you just want to double check, okay? When you go in, don't go too hasty, because you might in the corner of your eye think, hey, this is a earth cable, neutral cable, but it's actually an earth cable. And what they've done is they've just put some earth sleeving over onto there. Any self-respecting above board electrician will do that, put a earth sleeving on there just to confirm for you what it is, so you don't need to worry too much. I mean, you can see it going back here, so it's pretty self-explanatory, but just be vigilant, make sure you know what it is you're looking at, and always double check. So let's just put these earths in, and there you go, the earth is in. I just took advantage of the two earth points just to make sure it's not too crowded, but essentially it's all one and the same, connects up, not a problem. So there we go. Now we're gonna squish this all back into the thing. There you go, that's half the battle. So now let's just screw the thing back on, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, we're pretty happy, everything's all wired in good. I'm not too worried about there being too many tails. If you're putting new cables in, you might find that putting it back's a problem, might be a bit tight, and you've got to rework a couple of things. But here it's all plain sailing, so let's get it back on. Now, if you've got to this point, you probably just realized that getting these screws back in is a bit more difficult than it is taking them out. It can be tricky to line them up with the holes in the back, and they move around a bit, and you got to try and do both, and it can take a while. What I like to do is to put the screwdriver in the screw and get my eyes down in here, line it up, and just get it threaded in there just enough. It's not going to pop out, and then come across and do with the same thing. And what you want to do now, as you're tightening this thing back up on the wall, is alternate between the two screws, taking your time, slowly screwing it back in, make sure it's not threaded, and just ease it into the wall and keep it straight as you go. And as they get tighter and tighter, you just straighten it, and then eventually it's plain sailing. The whole thing will stick back up. I'll show you, watch. See, even for me now, after years of doing these things, the one on the right popped out as I pushed the one on the left in a bit, so I had to realign it and do it again. And now I know it'll go flush, and I know it's screwing in. So now you just you alternate between the two, just bringing it back. Sometimes it might do that, that's okay. She is going back into the wall. You just keep going. These things have got a lot of threads, so they take a lot of screwing and screwing and screwing. I need to keep the thing level, so 1 second. And there you go, the fascia is now secure to the wall. Again, you only want to hand tighten these. Don't machine tighten them. I mean, unless you get the clutch on your drill set just right so it cuts out exactly the right point. Because once this thing starts cracking or whatever, that's it. Game over. Busted. Now we just put this thing on here. And would you look at that? A work of art. Beautiful flush thing. So now I just stick the light switch back on the wall. We'll get the plug tester, turn the consumer unit on, and bosh, we'll see and make sure this thing works. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Might need twisting around a little bit. Right, let's get the plug tester. This is your consumer unit, or it's also known as the fuse board. And as you can see, first floor circuits is what I switched off here, so I can test out the plugs, fit the plugs on the wall. Now we're going to switch it on, and the fact that it hasn't tripped is always a good sign. And I don't know where my plug tester is, so we're just going to use the lamp. So let's go try it out. So here's the one we did. We're just going to plug in this lamp, turn it on, and there you go, the lamp's on. That's good enough for me for now. I'm not worried about my quality of work. It's really good. It was more for you. So let's see if my phone charges now. We'll plug this thing into here like this. There's always 3 ways to plug in a USB, and then I just plug it into my phone. Sorry there, that might tickle. And typically it's not doing anything because I need to restart my phone because it's broken. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, it's charging. Little thing's on. That's pretty cool. I'll get a little screenshot of that to prove it. Hang on. There you go. So that's how you fit a plug. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.